Oh man, it's never gotten nice. Look at that. Beautiful sunshine. So this is a, I don't know, it's called a blockhouse. Some kind of an old fort that I thought we'd check out. Got a British flag on the top, so it probably means it was a British fort, perhaps defending this bay. I don't know. Here we got everything in French and English because we are a bilingual country. Bilingual. Blockhouse National Historic Site, part of Parks Canada, diverse and ever-growing system of national parks. Wartime buildings spree. War of 1812 was fought between Great Britain and the United States from 1812 to 1815. Which, to our American friends, we won that war. We beat you. The only war Canada and the States has ever won or fought, we won. Just had to put that out there. Present-day Ontario, Quebec, and several American states. In Atlantic Canada, the war brought about increased economic prosperity from trade and the spoils of privateering. When the war began, blockhouses like this one went up quickly at significant harbours on the east coast, including Lunenburg, Yarmouth, and Nova Scotia, and several in St. John, New Brunswick. 3 were built in St. Andrews, at Joe's Point, East Point, and here at West Point to defend the batteries against protect the harbour and river primarily from enemy privateers. Cool. So that's what it was built for. With the cannons overlooking the water. I wonder how far one of those would shoot. Hardly think that that could shoot all the way across the water. That's neat to see too. There are all the boats out in the harbor. It was erected by the townspeople of St. Andrews at the outbreak of the war, in anticipation of a seaborne attack from the United States. Along with other defensive positions, they were manned by local militia and British regulars throughout the war. Later, the blockhouse served as a barracks and as a storehouse. It is one of the few examples surviving in Canada. Very cool. Hopefully they'll let us in there. I think they will. I'll read this all for you as quick. Many blockhouses were built in North America, but few survived. Why is this one still here? Throughout the 19th century, blockhouse was used for storage and occasionally as a barracks. 1860s, during a brief period of tension with the United States, it again became an important component of civic defenses, but its military role declined soon after. It was seriously damaged by fire in 1993. People repaired it, and you can see some fire damage. History is always intriguing. Things change over the time. It's pretty cool to see. Man, it's beautiful. Just love that. We said that last time we came out to the East Coast too. We should move out here. Trouble is the farming is pretty sparse and small. Not much farmland around here. So that's pretty neat. They can swing these around. Obviously it's blocked up right now, but they got wheels underneath them, casters. So you can spin this guy around both ways for a good range of fire. I seriously wonder how far that would go. Obviously when they're cold they don't fire as well. Once they heat up and fire, and shoot a lot farther. Three of them. Wicked. How would you load that? Way up there. Oh, I guess they'd roll them forward for shooting. So then you could stand on the platform, right? And then when it fires, it would shoot back. It would roll up the hill on these. Yeah. So guys are probably standing on the side, swabbing it and loading it. Yeah, it's neat, eh? All 3 of them spin around, different direction. 3 identical guns. Hey? Original? Yeah, I think so. Still got a borehole in the center there. Pretty cool. It's a pretty small little blockhouse, not a lot of room in there. There's garbage in there? That's too bad that people do that. Defend this beautiful country. So that's the state side over there. So I guess they could see them coming across. They might try to land here on the settlement. blow them out of the water. Presuming, I have no idea, but I'm just guessing they maybe had more of them over there. Keep you Americans out, eh? Very neat. There's another one. Okay, I'm not going to read all this one. There's a lot on here. Just instructions for loading the guns. I know that part you swab it out with a wet sponge just in case there's any embers in there, because if you throw gunpowder in, it'll blow up. Then they ram the gunpowder package in, then they ram this in, and then they poke a hole in the gunpowder and light her up. Kaboom! The rest of the instructions here: pour the good powder in. Similar to muskets, they had the same thing. You had regular powder and then you had really good fine powder to get her going. You pour that in and then light it up. There's a guy with his bucket of water for swabbing. That's interesting. I've never seen that. That must be how they carried them, I guess. Or what is that? I'm not sure. A couple of soldiers. These guys running the guns. And here a bunch of muskets shooting. Neato. And there's kind of a depiction of the old town. Okay, I'm going to check out the fort.
Well, if your blanket here, and put on top of your book bag. So that way, when you had to go to drill, you had to take your book bag with your blanket right there behind your head, out and about doing your marches and marching around. Here you can see the pants they would have worn, something of that nature. Very high quality, as you can tell, just looking at it. This here would be your hat, which honestly was the most high quality thing they actually had on them. As you can tell, it was very nice looking. That Cigna feather. It'd be a fantastic thing for an eagle to come down and mistake as a bird. Great for walking around in the woods, I'm sure you can imagine. Over here we have the jacket they would have worn. Everyone actually knows the British soldiers as the red jackets, or the red coats, right? Well, artillery actually wore blue, and the cavalry wore green. The idea was that an officer could come by, and they could look at your jacket, and they could tell where you should be at any given point on the battlefield. So if you were a blue jacket and you were running away from the cannons, he knew you were running the wrong direction. He knew to get a hold of you and put you in the right place. Or if he needed somebody to go run an errand, he knew to get the infantry, not grab a cannoneer or artillery. You can see all around this building here, actually, while I'm at it, all of these little wooden things, right? These are loopholes. So you can pull any of these out and you'd end up with a hole in the wall like such. So the idea was if soldiers happen to get up on land, you could actually take your musket here and take shots out. Now, a musket could go up to 3 feet in either direction after you pull the trigger. So as you can imagine, you're not hitting a lot of targets. So you'd actually pair up with groups of 2. One person would take the shot, and the guy behind him would load your next musket. So that way you can consistently take shots, and hopefully one of them actually hit what you're aiming at. Which leads me on to the bayonet, this little thing right here. So this here, and the one over here as well, would go over the top of your musket. It would come right on here, and it would turn your musket something similar to a spear. So that way, you can hold your musket and tell them to keep their 6-foot distancing from you. These here would be your canteen, so for your water. Naturally, you just need your drinks throughout the day, so you need to have your water on you. And this here would be your munitions pouch, or as a lot of people have come in here and noticed, the man purse that hangs on the wall. Here you would store your powder horn, as well as your balls for your rifle, your weapon, sorry. It's not a rifle, that's a...
Musket.
Musket, thank you. It's been a busy day.
I'll bet.
And over here, we have your handy-dandy heating device, because a Canadian winter is a cold winter. So this here is your wood furnace. You put your wood in there, light it up, and that would be your heat for not only keeping the place warm, but also warming up your food, your soup, your stews, and of course, most importantly, your British tea. Down here we have our shaving bowl. So like I said, there would be 4 people in here at a given time, so I'm sure you can imagine you and your 3 buddies all down there around the bowl filled with water, dipping your razor in and giving yourself a little clean job. And over here is one of my personal favorites, the wash tub. So, for those of you who don't know, 1812 British soldier. Turns out they don't really care to bathe or wash or clean themselves in any way. So this wasn't for cleaning yourself. No, this was for your dishes, for your laundry, never for cleaning yourself. So make sure you know that, because British soldier, it's gonna smell really good. Ladies, I'm sure you'll love it. Over here, this right here bucket would have been used for getting your fresh water, drinking water, anything that you needed up here. Probably fill your pot. And this one here, anyone care to guess what this leather bucket was used for? Want to hold it? Anyone care to guess?
Toilet be my guess.
That's the most common guess. That's also wrong though. Any other guesses? This would have been your fire bucket. So it was made out of leather, so it wouldn't easily burn or get holes in it. So if there was ever a fire in here, even near the bucket, there's a pretty good chance that your bucket would survive, so you could get water to actually put out the fire.
Fire extinguisher.
Yeah. You're very modern fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
They're pretty clever that way. If you guys like, I can take you upstairs and there's some more stuff up there I can show you guys.
Was the lumber burnt or?
Yes, I guess I'll reiterate that from earlier. 1993, there was a fire, arson. 14-year-old burned the place. So anything original wood, but as you can tell. So 4 pound refers to the weight of the cannonball. So it'd be a 4-pound cannonball for this one here. And this could go all the way down there to the shallows of the shore. Whereas these ones down here, these bigger ones, are 18-pounders. And from what we've been told, they could get all the way over to the island over here on the left, and maybe even a little over the island on a good day.
Wow.
So as you can imagine, this is a really good job of protecting the entrance to the harbor, which is what this one was constructed for, entrance and protecting the harbor itself. There was actually 3 of these though, all constructed around the same time. There was another one over here on the point where the lighthouse is, that would protect the back of the harbor as the harbor itself. And one over here on the point where the golf course is, which would protect the opening from the river and...
Just like these ones?
Yep, exactly the same. The British loved building these. These were cookie cutter builds. Because Canada had such good thick lumber like this, it was everywhere. You could build these things dime a dozen almost. So these were very common design. I think currently there's only 2 of them in the Atlantic left, like this one. That one over there got exposed to the elements and they had to tear it down, and the one over near the golf course was blown away in a big storm, I guess. Not even a matchstick left behind from what we've been told. Yeah, pretty crazy. There used to be some 9-pounders out past the 18-pounders because there used to be a little more land there prior to. And at one point they even had a 24-pounder down there. That was later on though. They never actually ended up using it for anything. It ended up leaving without any good use. So it was used to actually load your cannons. You'll notice that the sticks are really long. These ones right here probably would have been used for the cannons outside, the big 18-pounders. Something smaller would have likely been used for the 4-pounders. You'll notice the shovel-shaped ones here. This would be used for loading your loose powder in. The rounded ones over here would actually press the gunpowder in, make a little divot in it, so you can put your cloth in. The cloth would help keep the cannonball, which might be moist, from wetting the gunpowder. So when you put your cannonball in, you would use this flat-headed one to bash the cannonball in as compact around that as you could. So that way when you light it and it inevitably fires, it will go more or less straight. So once again, you put your fuse in, you light it and fire it. Well, after that, you have hot gunpowder inside. So that's where this one over here, which looks like it has a pigtail on it, comes in place. You put like a wet cloth or something of that nature in it, and you can use that to wipe out all the hot gunpowder. So when you scoop your next batch in, you don't blow your face off or have a misfire. These wedge-shaped ones over here, these much thicker looking ones, would most commonly be used for something like this, where you would put them under the tires. So that way when you fire your cannon, you don't blow the back wall. Bit of an exaggeration, but nonetheless a pretty accurate representation of what you could have happen. And the center wedge there is like we have this one right here. So that you could actually move it up and down to change the height the cannon would be facing. Those of you who are wondering, like I said earlier, there was a fire, so the base down here is not the exact one that it started on, which is why it's a little lower than the actual window. Yes. Did I mention point still didn't have rifling in them? It not much more accurate than a
Yeah.
musket. Yes.
They should have known, I guess, their angles or certain force or so their charge.
There you go, a little piece of history. Pretty cool. So there was 3 of these, he said. One over on that point over there, the one here, and then one over on the point on that side. But only one remains. And even this one barely remained because it had a fire as well. So, cool. There, another old historic building. Those are big rocks there. Looks kind of like it used to be a prison, which I think it was. Yeah, it says that on there. And this kind of looks like a courthouse. It's pretty cool. Stuff written on there. Kind of neat. Nice old building. Operating between 1834 and 1979, this jail was built from granite blocks to replace a wooden structure on Water Street. The jail provided accommodation for the jailer and 17 prisoners. Debtors, women, and children were incarcerated upstairs, while those guilty of everything from drunkenness to murder were held downstairs in austere and comfortless cells with only small slit windows for ventilation. A tall fence, metal doors, and iron bars on the windows provided security but didn't always prevent escapes. Outbuildings included a kitchen, stable destroyed by fire, and the gallows where the last hanging occurred in 1942. The walk through the cells is chilling and sometimes ghostly experience. Interesting. And now, in the jail, they have the county archives, which would be really neat to look at sometime too. So yes, it is the courthouse, Charlotte County Courthouse. Best preserved example in New Brunswick of a typical mid-19th century maritime courthouse. I'm not going to read it all, but there's lots to read there. If you pause the video, I'm sure you can read all that. Yeah, I think these posts are actually wood. Big wooden posts. That's awesome. Hey? This was the original courthouse right here, yeah. Oh yeah, it's still, if you can see in there or not, it's an old school court. I'm guessing the doors are locked in there. Yeah, all we can do is peek in the windows. Doors are locked. Pretty neat part of history though. Reminds me of an old plantation house. Pretty neat. Even that post for changing the flag. There's a big wooden post too, tree. And somebody have to climb up them steps, I guess, to change the flag. I love these old towns. There's lots of them along the St. Lawrence because that's really the oldest part of our country. It was first settled along the river, right? That's the easiest access, and then people moved inland from there. So there's piles of old history. I just noticed an old church across the road here. Kind of neat too. Anyway, can't film it all, but I'll film some stuff. Alright, there's a windmill on this garden park slash thing that I wanted to see, but I don't really feel like paying. You have to pay to get in. And the only thing I want to see in there is the windmill, so we'll pass this time. I don't think it's a working one anyway. It looks kind of like a smaller replica of a working, either like a grist mill or a shingle mill or something of those lines that ran on wind. But we will pass for now. I'm gonna go find a grocery store and get some food.